Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Lighting Up Your Life with Lisa podcast, where we will discuss the human mind, body, and soul, and how to elevate ourselves to the next level of healing, wellness, and holistic health, wealth, and happiness. I am your host, Lisa Tabando, RMT and Bioenergetics Certified Facilitator. Y'all ready? Let's go. Hi, everybody. It's me, Lisa T, coming at you with some positive energy on episode 3 of Light Up Your Life with Lisa. Okay, so today, we're going to talk about breath and pranayama practice and what that's all about today. And just a little side note, I am a BreathWork Bioenergetics Facilitator certified through the Mortar Institute by Dr. Sue Mortar. So that's where my background comes with this stuff. And then also as a massage therapist, we learned all about the lungs. Massage therapy school was like first year medical school. We had to learn everything, every part of the system, every part of the body system down to the cellular level, like the liver, the pancreas, the reproductive system, the gastrointestinal system, all of that stuff, as well as every condition out there, every disease out there. And we had to be prepared with all of that stuff in case, just for when any client comes to us with anything on the list of ad infinitum, that we have an awareness and knowledge of that and education around that. So a little side note with breathwork, please, if you're pregnant, this is not for you. Consult your doctor before doing any kind of breathwork exercises if you're pregnant, or if you have any lung issues. Please consult your doctor before doing breathwork exercises if they're anything intense. Most of the stuff I do is very mild and there's no contraindications, but we want to be cautious. So background. Okay, so breathing. So no mistake that as this question was brought to me, so one of my viewers asked me to do a podcast on the breath work, and no mistake that sure enough, I was hyper aware for the last couple of days about my breathing, and also going through a stressful time. Well, not really a stressful time. It was a very triggering time. So I went through 3 days of some deep core wound stuff being triggered, some of my traumas being triggered. And there was one moment in particular, I was super aware of it. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so triggered right now that I stopped breathing. So our breath can tell us where we're at mentally and emotionally. Are we breathing nice and slow? Is it deep breathing? We think about the ocean. Shallow breaths create shallow thinking. Deep breaths create deeper, juicier thinking. So like the waves of the ocean, the top is all wavy and it's so totally affected by the outside circumstances. So if there's a storm, if there's a wind, you're going to see that in the top of the waves, in that shallow breathing. But deep beneath, it's unaffected. So we want to be breathing deep all the time, as much as possible, breathing into our bellies, and that'll help us to not be so controlled and affected by the external circumstances that are happening around us. Life is going to happen, but we want to make sure that we take back as much power as we can, so that our system, this chemical composition that we're dealing with inside of our bodies, doesn't get all out of whack and take us out of the second prioritized thing that the body's going to do, which is heal and regenerate. The first thing the body's going to do is survive, which is fight or flight. The second thing it's going to do is rest and digest. And digest means cellular digestion, meaning repair and rejuvenation and healing. So we want to be really conscious and aware of how we're breathing and how we're feeling, because that's changing the chemical makeup inside of our bodies, and it could be either serving us or turning against us. Okay, so breath. Breath is super powerful. Why is breath so powerful? Breath is the one thing that is both voluntary and involuntary. Meaning, if we're not thinking about it, your body will breathe for you, but you can also take control. So it's one part of our autonomic nervous system. The autonomic nervous system is things like your blood pressure, your heart, your digestion, things that your hormones, so things that you're not saying, okay, food digest. Oh, I'm really trying to digest right now. You're not going, okay, hormones, I want some cortisol now. Like we could sort of influence it, but we're not in control of it. But with the breath is something that the body's going to do. It's part of that same thing. The lungs are part of the autonomic nervous system, so it is going to automatically do that for us. It is involuntary. So we're not. It's just doing it. We're not saying arm move. We're our others. This is our We have our central nervous system, and then we have our peripheral nervous system. So the periphery, so we're in control of that. We're like arm move. Now it becomes subconscious with a lot of our movements, like tying your shoes. You don't have to think about it anymore because it's gotten into the body. Okay, I'm side noting. So breath. Breath is one of the part of the autonomic nervous system that does it on its own, but then we can also take control of. So the breathing helps us establish a direct connection. It's this one thing where we can absolutely tap in, tune into, turn on, and nourish and show up for in our involuntary nervous system. So it connects us to the body. It connects that conscious and the subconscious. It's a way for us to connect to what's these subconscious things, these things we aren't so aware of. Like, you're not really aware of your digestion. You could be, right? But as you're walking about your day or going about your day and other things are going on, we lose awareness of those things. So the whole point of all of this stuff is to get back into the body and gain that awareness so that we can have a more powerful and better experience of this journey of life. So the breath helps us establish a direct connection, and then that's the direct connection to our body with our brain. So our brain and our body, a direct connection. The brain is the central nervous system, and it's firing stuff all the time, and then our body is our subconscious. It's holding stuff for us all the time. So breath will help us to clear this and rejuvenate and revitalize and purify. Pranayama. One of the key concepts of pranayama is purification. So I'm going to get to pranayama in a moment. What's happening with the lungs, I always find too with my clients, when I explain something, when we really understand something, then we're more apt to do the practices that are going to support that system. When we understand why our muscles are tight, we understand what's really happening, then we're more apt to follow the solutions, because we've gained an understanding, and it's not some like unknown thing anymore. So what do we breathe in? We breathe in oxygen, right? And then our body so we're inhaling oxygen, and then we're exhaling carbon dioxide. Our body our cells produce carbon dioxide in cellular respiration. So we're respirating, right, as we breathe. But then also cells are, they're doing cellular respiration, which is the term of what cells are doing as they do things like break down the nutrients of the foods we eat. So they're doing that, and they're creating energy, and in that energy, in that metabolic process, in that respiratory process, they produce carbon dioxide, CO2. So we breathe in air, it goes into our lungs, it goes to these little grape-like structures on the outside of on the lining of the lungs called the alveoli, on the inside of the lungs called the alveoli, and these alveoli, which looks like a bunch of grapes on the inside of your lungs, a group of grapes on the insides of your lungs, that's where the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide go. So there's a thin membrane, so the oxygen goes into your lungs and goes to the alveoli, and then at the membrane, the alveoli then disperse oxygen into the bloodstream that's going all around it, and then take the carbon dioxide, and we exhale that out. So when you are breathing, you are taking part, when you're consciously breathing, you are taking part in that beautiful gas exchange of your body, of taking the air in and letting the CO2 out, which is the waste product from your cellular functioning. Side little fun fact that makes me think of too, it's beautiful to have plants in our homes and it's beautiful to be in nature. You want to know why? Because the exact opposite is happening with plants. Plants are taking the carbon dioxide that we exhale or in the air, and they're breathing that in, and then they are exhaling oxygen for us. So that's why we have why we should have an affinity for nature. I mean, I definitely do. But it's a beautiful relationship that we're having with plants. So we really want to be so this is really good news, because now you know all that, and you know, hey, well, I can take a part in helping my body to breathe in more oxygen and expel more cellular waste from my body helping me by taking nutrients from my food. So what next? So back to the sympathetic nervous system, right? So in fight or flight, where I was talking about stress earlier. So with the we have two modes. Speaking of cellular makeup and stuff like that, rest and digest, when the cells are able to then, when we've had a hard workout and then our cells have to go and make repair the micro tears in the fibers. If we sat at our desk all day and our postural muscles have worked all day, there's little micro tears happening. So the body goes in to repair it, and then there's cellular debris. So that's in rest and digest. So we have fight or flight or rest and digest. Just two. So the bad news is most of us have normalized stress, normalized this fight or flight. Normalizing it meaning we're driving in our car and there's a traffic jam and we're late for an appointment. You stress out about it, you send your body into fight or flight, and your body can't see the movie that you're seeing. So it thinks you're actually in survival mode, running from a bear, trying to save your life. So it will stop cellular stuff. It will stop digesting food. It will stop, it just sends power to your limbs and gets ready to run, literally run. So we want to be conscious that, hey, my life is not in danger right now. My life is not in danger. I'm safe. That's a mantra that I have to use often. I often feel unsafe due to my traumas in my life. So I have to constantly be saying, I'm safe. It's okay, body. Take a deep breath. Calm down, because you're going to send yourself into rest and digest, and then you can rejuvenate and feel better and feel the vitality. Okay, so what else? What else will increase this? So back to the CO2 as well. So that's fight or flight, rest and digest. So we want to always be, as much as possible, bringing ourselves back into rest and digest. Now, normally, like if you watch an animal, this is when there's a story of the duck and animals, they and they shake it off, and then their body goes back into homeostasis. We, especially some people who are living in like big cities, big busy cities with lots of noise pollution and lots of chaos and lots of energy, our system doesn't get a chance to come back into homeostasis after that like crazy moment. So we want it. So we're learning to be more conscious and show up for our bodies for what we and how we can serve our bodies for and be a dual relationship with this body that's serving us all the time. Your body is walking you to the bathroom. Your body is holding you in your chair. Your body is blinking so your eyes stay moist. Your body is digesting your food. Your body is your neck muscles are supporting this big heavy brain of yours, so the body is working for us all the time. So we want to serve the body as well, as much as it's serving us. Show up for it. So fight or flight, rest and digest, other things. So and when we're deep breathing, we're helping. So fight or flight will also then be creating CO2, so that the carbon dioxide, because everything's like starting to go right. It's getting your muscles ready to fight and ready to attack. So we want to let that CO2 out. If we have a buildup of CO2 in our bodies, in the bloodstream, in the cells, in the tissues, we're going to experience things like headaches, fatigue, brain fog. So what's happening is we're not. I talk about that with clients too in recovery stuff and in trauma therapy stuff, and my experience in life was I could never take a full exhale. I could never finally relax. I've always been looking for that exhale. So when we're stressed out, we're not dispelling that carbon dioxide, hence why breath work will help us. Okay, so exercise will also increase CO2, hence why when you're exercising, you start to breathe heavier. It's your body just kicking into action to help you dispel the CO2 and to take in more oxygen to help that cellular, all the cellular functions that are going on. So yeah, breathing, that sympathetic nervous system, natural breathing also, our bodies will naturally breathe. This is a really cool fun fact too. Breathe for 2 hours in through one nose, and then 2 hours later, it'll alternate and you'll breathe in through the left side, your left nostril. So for 2 hours you're breathing right nostril, then the next 2 hours you're breathing left nostril, and then that's a balanced system. But that will get off as well. That'll go off with stress, right? Everything underneath everything is stress. So, and so if we end up getting stuck in right nostril breathing too much, so if we've gone over extended that 2 hours and we're breathing more through our right nostril when we're not imbalanced, what's going to result is mainly mental and nervous disturbances. So if you're feeling like really disturbed a lot throughout your day, you're probably favoring your right nostril. Cool, right? So, just noticing that, then I'm going to get to pranayama in a moment here. Then we can do some left nostril breathing to help create the balance. If we a sign of left nostril breathing, overdoing left nostril breathing, gets stuck longer than 2 hours in your left nostril, we'll feel fatigue and brain fog as well. So if you're feeling all like dopey, then you are probably breathing through your left nostril. So you can switch over to and do some right nostril breathing. Okay, so pranayama. Let's go right into the pranayama now. So pranayama, it's like so many words in our English language. We can break it down. It means something. It's come from other like Latin and different things like that, or Hindu or whatever. So it has an origination. Is basically what I'm saying. It originates somewhere. So prana, and we can break down prana, yama. So prana is like chi, life force. So it's a thing that comes by many names. And so prana is the life force, and yama means extension or expansion. So we're expanding and extending our vital life force. So, I don't know if I'm saying the right things. Like, it's not in Hindu or in India or somewhere, but there's the thing saying that, the people who are practicing breathwork all the time, they live longer, way longer, and they look younger, way longer. So that's just what pranayama is. It's like expanding our life force, and so it's concentrating on breathing. Now pranayama is it's mainly nose breathing, so different things with your breathing in and out through the nose. It's more ideal to be breathing through your nose. Breathwork these days is a lot of mouth breathing, and I'll explain that. But we want to breathe through the nose because the nose was designed for it. It's got little cilia fibers that, little like hair-like structures, they're called cilia, that filter the air coming in. So there's particles and different dusts and allergens and stuff in the air, right? So many things in the air. So these little hair-like structures catch all that as the air is coming up through the fibers. It catches that. Plus this is a humidifier. Your nose is a humidifier, so it moistens that air. And it's a smaller cavity. So when we're breathing in through our mouth, we're taking in more oxygen, and we can let out more oxygen through our mouth. But through the nose, it's a little bit different. So there can be a more controlled breathing with the nose. Hence where pranayama is an effective breath work, because of that very controlled. One very common pranayama is alternate nose breathing. So I talked about the left and the right. So pranayama wants to not only expand the life force, expand that vitality, but also balance, all about balancing. So pranayama will do alternate nostril breathing a lot of the time. Sometimes it's both too, sometimes it's fast exhalations, and sometimes it's very intense inhalations, and sometimes very intense exhalations, sometimes alternating. There's a whole whack of them that you can do. And then a lot of the times in between them, there's a breath retention. So you do, you do in through the right, out through the left, up, in through the left, out through the right, and then you do a inhale, hold. In the breath retention, that's a moment that your body is then increasing your energy, increasing the vitality. And in the breath, and then the slow release of pranayama is about relaxation. So again, it all leads back to relaxation, which is getting us back into the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest, where we are healing, So that's pranayama. So I'll give you a quick little pranayama example, and then I'm going to then revisit some of the breath work that I've done. You can scroll back in my videos so to some breath work stuff, but I'll do other breath work today. One more note about, so that was about the nose, why we would breathe. So when we're breathing in through the mouth, we're getting more oxygen and releasing more CO2. Also, when we're really focused on bringing a lot more oxygen in and we're really focused on our breath, what's going to happen in the brain, speaking of the back to the brain, is that when we are stressed, we are typically in some sort of trigger mode. And when we are triggered, our amygdala in our brain fires, and it's the emotional center of our brain. So we are running completely on emotion. I am freaked out and scared, so I've got to survive. I am angry, so I've got to yell. It's a reaction mode, but it's a pyramidal. Oh gosh, it's an old brain. It's like a primate. And what's the word? Primitive brain. So our brain has evolved over the years. But we have our executive functioning in the frontal lobe, the prefrontal cortex of your brain. That's where the executive functioning is. Executive meaning the one that's like, okay, you know what we're going to do here is we're going to take a deep breath. We're going to eat a sandwich. We're going to take the dog for a walk and go into nature. We're going to have a hot bath. There's no bear here. There's no lion that's going to bite our head off right now. There's nothing we need to survive. So it's like, you know what? Instead of freaking out, why don't we just let that person know, hey, that hurt my feelings? Or why don't we just say, you know what? I have a boundary here. You can't speak to, or you know what? Or why don't we tomorrow leave 5 minutes earlier so that we're not running behind time and late and then stuck in traffic and freaking out. Like, so it's executive. It's like, it's the wise one, the executive functioning, the prefrontal cortex. So when we are stressed out, the amygdala just automatically starts fire. I'm emotional. And so then our decisions are driven from emotion as opposed to rational. Let's think rationally about this. So when we're doing, we are increasing the oxygen that is going in, and we're taking back control. So we're saying, amygdala, it's okay, buddy. I'm back online, and I'm going to pump oxygen into my prefrontal cortex. So I'm going to turn on my awareness big time, and then we're not going to be in trigger. It's going to get us present. It's going to help our brain to think clearer. There's a lot of these breathwork sessions that say, they can heal a bunch of trauma. It's because our trauma is from the past. It's about a messaging. It's a messaging. It's not always based on factual things. It's not the actual incident in a traumatic experience. It's not the incident that's traumatizing. It's the message we receive from it. So the message we receive from it is how the brain is firing messages and compartmentalizing things and putting things in memory and saying, okay, that happened, it looked this way, so I'm going to make sure that never happens again. So when someone says something to her that reminds me of this moment here, I'm going to know that that's danger, and I'm going to push them away, and I'm going to self-sabotage, and when we're breathing and we're bringing back in the prefrontal cortex and we're bringing back on the executive functioning of the brain, then we get to see things in a different way. And we stop being the victim in our world, and we can be empowered. Woo! Okay, so so pranayama. Oh, okay, I was going to do an exercise of pranayama. So pranayama. So a very simple one that you can do, and remember everything I talked about left side and right side, and purification and balancing, and sympathetic nervous system, rest and digest, expelling all you want to keep all of that in mind when you're doing these practices, so you can facilitate through intention what you're actually doing with your breath work. So a very simple pranayama is we're using our thumb and our ring fingers to close and release nostrils. So it's thumb and ring finger. The other two, it actually it's kind of like yogic positions do this. Well, it's specific. We want our pointer finger and our middle finger curled down. Thumb, this is my left side. I don't know how the video shows it, but this is my left side, and then my right side with my ring finger. So on the first breath of a very simple pranayama is to inhale with both nostrils. So we're going to go inhale. And you can actually keep your eyes open for the inhale. So inhale. And you're thinking about both nostrils. And then we're going to close our eyes, and we're going to exhale through the left. So where your thumb is. and then we're going to inhale through the same nostril. So inhale left. Keep going. And then close the left and retain. Remember when we retain, this is funny, isn't it? Now when we retain, we're increasing our vital energy. Oh, leave it up to Lisa T to make it funny. Make a fool of myself. Okay, so then, and now we're going to, I should be closed still, then we're going to exhale through the right nostril. Pause for a second. And then we're going to inhale through the right nostril. Close the right nostril. Pause, retain. Increasing vital energy on the retain, relaxation on the exhale. Now we're going to open the left and exhale. And both. There's a simple pranayama. One of my favorite, that's not one of my favorite, there's two really great breath works that I think I've definitely spoken of one of them in previous videos, the central channel breathing. So now, after everything I've explained with vitality and the emotions, the amygdala and all this stuff, so we have chakras in energy systems within our body too. So we can combine all of this stuff and have like a magical experience with our breath work. And what, again, like at the base of this, the core of this stuff, all of this stuff is to gain back in personal empowerment. Like everything is energy. You know, your life is a reflection of your energy. So if we're like thinking like, oh my God, they don't like me, life is a scary world, we have confirmational bias, meaning that your brain will then say, okay, look for where that is. So we can easily become victims to our life, and when we are doing all of this stuff and working with knowledge of energy and how everything is energy, and our life is going to be a reflection of our energy. When we're happy-go-lucky and free, like things just like bounce off of us, they just flow right through us. We're not attached to anything, we're not taking anything personally, and we can see life as a gift and as it's serving us. But when we turn into, there's like a flip side, when we turn into, it's like the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic, it's just the two. We're either a victim or empowered. And so when we're doing this breath work, we can also think about our chakra system, which is if you could imagine a tube like this going through the middle of your head and then down your spinal cord right to the base of your spine. Now there is a starseed chakra, and then there's an earth star chakra too below us, outside of the body, like outside of this physical body. But there's 7 main chakras that we can work with. So when you're doing central channel breathing, you want to think about these 7 chakras. We have our root chakra, our sacral chakra. So the root chakra is at the sacrum. Our root chakra, sacral chakra is in the abdomen. Then we have our solar plexus, our heart chakra, our throat chakra, our third eye chakra, and our crown chakra. So central channel breathing is one of my favorites. I can, when I'm stressed out or I'm feeling the anxieties, it's about breathing up through that tube-like structure, and you can squeeze different parts. You can just like squeeze as it's coming up. A turnaround or transition point is always in the middle. So you breathe air up to here and then out through the top, and then in through the top to here and down. So it's these channels of breathing, just like the nostrils, channels of breathing. So central channel breathing, you can go back through one of my videos. In that, the reason I'm bringing this up is you can do it 2 ways. You can use the nose for one effect, and you can also do in through the nose, out through the mouth, depending on where you're at. If you think, I've been really stressed out and I haven't been exhaling a lot, and I'm feeling, remember those things I told you about, if you're if there's too much CO2 buildup, you're going to have your body's going to be alkalized, and you're going to feel the brain fog and headaches and confusion. And so you might want to use the mouth breath to really control and let that out. And now So yeah, central channel breathing. The second one I wanted to talk about, please go back in the videos to look at the central channel breathing one. The second one is a third eye opening one I like to use. And I find it clears my mind. It helps me with that scattered thought that I've suffered with intense anxiety my whole life. And one of the symptoms of that is really crazy thought, like scattered thought. It's just thinking something over and over and over and over. And very fearful thoughts and feeling inundated by my own mind. And so I'll use a third eye. I'll use a breath work for the third eye. So with this one, the central channel, we're breathing up and down through the central channel with a transition point in the middle. And then with the third eye one, I'm going to breathe from in front of me, about an arm's length in front of me, and then an arm's length behind my head. So from either side, right, out. So think about my thumb right in front of me, and I'm going to transition here in the third eye, and then out the back, about, if my arm was straight, about a thumb length, or arm's length, sorry. So, and then you breathe in from the, and all this breath work too is going to be getting you focused on the breath. So it's out of your mind into your breath, which is then a direct link into your body, into your subconscious, where the body keeps score. Woo! Okay, so everybody that's subscribed, thank you so much. I appreciate it so much. Everyone that's commented, giving me a thumbs up, it just lights me up every time I see a new subscriber, every time I see a new like, and please keep the comments, the questions coming. I love doing this for y'all. I love teaching and preaching, and helping you gain control back of this system that, we weren't taught enough about in the school system, I think, in the systems of the world, which that's a whole other topic. So so thank you just so much for watching. I hope I lit up your life in just a small way. If I've just enlightened or helped one soul, then my mission is accomplished. It's what I love to do. I love to serve. I've been through a lot in my life, and the cure for all the traumas and all the turmoil that I've gone for is to turn it into gold, give it away, give the healing away that I've gone through, and be a gift of service. And in that I receive. So thank you so much for watching. Please, if you haven't already subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. It costs you nothing. It takes nothing. All it does is help me to keep helping. So thanks all. Namaste.